Welcome to A Change of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Angel Walston. And in this space, we navigate life together. We ask the hard questions like, what is the truth you haven't told? But most importantly, we grow together. And sometimes that leads to a change of heart. And welcome back to another episode of A Change of Heart podcast. If you are watching this on my YouTube channel, then you see that we are in a different setup. But if you're familiar with my Change Hearts page, then you know this is typically where I do my Change Hearts video. Listen, we are recording this very late. Not that y'all asked for this information, but I didn't have the energy nor the time to set up in the podcast setup. So this is what we're getting tonight. Is that okay? It's okay. So today we are talking about navigating uncertainty. I put a poll up on my Instagram and Facebook, and combining the two, this was the requested next episode. And so before we jump into that, we're going to discuss the question of the day. And today's question of the day is, what is a food that you like that most people hate? So I feel like a lot of people hate coleslaw. I've just seen a lot of memes where they're like, what is the best way to eat coleslaw? Take it out the bag and then throw it in the trash. Like, I feel like I see that all the time. But I am one of the few people that I know, at least, who I actually love coleslaw. So I order it as a side. I know some people only like coleslaw with barbecue. I like it with my chicken nuggets. I like it with fish, seafood, ribs, anything like barbecue like. I'm here for it. I enjoy coleslaw. However, let me say this. It has to be like a good middle ground of not too dry, but not too wet. It has to be a good middle ground. I don't like a real runny coleslaw, but I don't like a super dry one either. So let me know in the comment section if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, what is a food that you love that most people hate? Or you can answer it in my stories on my Instagram at Angel C. Walston. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into today's topic of navigating uncertainty. And this was actually a recommended topic from season 1 survey. Sidebar, this is the second to last episode, okay? I know that I mentioned in the previous episode that we're going to do an episode about navigating, working through broken friendships. That had to be rescheduled, so that will be pushed to season 3. Just an FYI for the person who asked for that. I want you to know I did not forget about it. We are going to talk about it. The guest that I wanted to have for it, we needed to reschedule. So we're still going to talk about it, but it will be for season 3. But I'm bringing this up because we have one more episode, and that episode is going to be the listeners' questions. So these are questions from you all that you can send to me. There's a link in the description box for you to submit your questions anonymously, and then I will answer them in next week's episode. So if you want to get a question answered, and this doesn't have to be specific to me, the questions that will be answered are whatever you all ask. It can be questions regarding advice or anything like that. So make sure that you get that to me no later than this weekend, which I know does not give you much time. I'll say this, get it in no later than Monday. So Labor Day. Yeah, so no later than Labor Day so that I can get that episode recorded. And if you enjoy listening or watching the podcast, it would really mean the world to me if you would leave a review. It really, really, really does help for people to be able to get more information about the podcast, in the sense for it to like show up. So make sure that you leave me a review. You can leave it on any podcast platform that you listen to. It's great to like do the 5 stars, but if you can write something, like, it does my heart well. So please take the time to leave a review. And as always, feel free to share the episodes. All right, so now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's talk about navigating uncertainty. So I feel like this is such a great topic and such a necessary topic to have, because if 2020 has taught us nothing else, it has taught us the importance of learning how to navigate being in a space of uncertainty. And so I want to look at this from a couple of different levels, because I feel like there's layers to this thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's literally layers to this thing. So yeah, no, we're going to look up the definition. So the definition of uncertain is not definitely ascertainable or fixed, as in time of occurrence, number, dimensions, or quality. not confident, assured, or free from hesitancy, not clearly or precisely determined, vague, indistinct, not perfectly apprehended, subject to change, variable, unstable, ambiguous, unreliable, undependable. And in thinking about this idea of navigating uncertainty, the reason why I say that there are layers to this thing is because there's so many different components where uncertainty can rise up. And so one way that I want to look at it is this idea of being able to name what is really the root of your uncertainty. Because I think that at times we can misname our issues, if that makes sense. And so a lot of times we can say that we feel like we are uncertain about something when in reality it's like you're fearful, or maybe you're struggling with doubt. Maybe you're very clear, you know what it is that you need to do, but you say that you're uncertain or you're unsure because to actually step out and do whatever it is that you know that you're supposed to do, it's scary. It places some fear, it places some doubt and some wondering in this space that is unknown, essentially. And I think it's really important for us to be able to identify what is it that is making us feel uncertain, because we tend to misname or mislabel our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, and all of that. And as a result of it, we say that we're uncertain when that's not really the emotion, the feeling that we're actually experiencing. And I think a really good example of this is one of the couples from Married at First Sight. Y'all know I watched this season for whatever reason. It was horrible. But one of the couples, Brianna and Vincent, who they do end up staying together. This isn't a spoiler. The season is over with. They're like at the reunion at this point. So y'all should already know bad decision day has happened. They stay together. And although I do think that they're a good couple and they will stay together for the long haul, or at least I think so, one of the things that Vincent struggled with is mislabeling his feelings, his emotions. So for example, Brianna would say things. So here's a great example. They had a little bit of an argument because he was trying to be like suave. He was trying to be cool for his boo. And he went to open up a bottle of champagne, I believe. And you know how it like bubbles up. And so it went everywhere. And so she like laughed about it, was like, oh, that's so Vinny of you. And wasn't even really coming for him like that. And this set homeboy off. So he got real silent, like gave her the silent treatment. And she's like, it's just something happened. Like, what's going on? I don't understand why you're treating me like this. Like, what's good? And he ended up telling her that he felt disrespected by her. And as they were having the conversation, it's like, I hear what you're saying, Vincent, but the issue really isn't that you felt disrespected. You felt embarrassed. You felt like she was embarrassing you, but you labeled it as disrespect. And I bring that up because a lot of times as we're dealing with different things, we label it as something. We end up mislabeling, misnaming it because we don't actually know what the root of the issue is. So in this case with Brianna and Vincent, he embarrasses very easily, and that's his business. But he, in his mind, is like he wants to be cool for his wife. He was a little insecure because he had gained some weight. Like he had all these different things going on. And so when he's in a position where he feels like he looks stupid or he feels stupid, he shuts down and he has like this whole tantrum. We're going to call the thing a thing. And the way that he addresses it is saying that he feels disrespected. And it's like, I hear what you're saying, but disrespect is not really what you're experiencing. It's more so the issue of you feeling embarrassed. And in thinking about this idea of navigating uncertainty, I think it's really important for us to be able to identify what is really the root of our uncertainty. What is really the thing that we feel hesitant about? What is really the thing that we are doubting? Because it may not be an issue of uncertainty. It can be an issue of something else, such as fear, as I was saying earlier. So as we're trying to figure out and go through this space of feeling uncertain, we have to be able to identify, like, okay, what is that rooted in? Is it rooted in a place of fear? Is it rooted in a place of the unknown? Is it rooted in another factor or another component that could potentially be fueling this feeling of uncertainty when that in itself is not really what I'm experiencing? Taking it a step further and thinking about this idea of uncertainty, I think it's really important for us to learn how to be okay with the uncertain aspects of life. And listen, I am 1000% somebody who likes to control things. I'm definitely somebody who I like things to go a certain way. I am a planner at heart. I am someone who I'm not big on surprises. Like, don't just pop up. Like, I'm not the surprise type of person. I definitely like to have things planned out. I like to have things figured out. But the reality is, while we're here on this earth, in this life, there are going to be things that are completely outside of our control. And so I think it's really important to be able to learn how to adjust when it comes to uncertainty, because a lot of times we try to fight against it instead of going with it. And what I mean in the sense of going with it is, it can feel as though when you're in a space of uncertainty, it can feel like everything is just falling apart, or it can feel like everything is out of your control. It can feel like, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to choose. And we can get so caught up in that space of feeling like we don't know and being caught up in that space of the unknown that we become paralyzed to the extent that we don't even make choices. We don't even make decisions to be able to get ourselves to go forward, because we're so stuck and so caught up in what we can't control, what we don't know, the unknown, the place that is uncertain. And a very good example of this, and let me give this disclaimer, let me preface it with this, because I want to be really clear about it. Don't y'all take what I'm getting ready to say and just post it somewhere. I need y'all to hear my heart in this. I want to make sure that you get the full context and the full picture of it, okay? That is the disclaimer. I feel like a great example of this sense of learning how to adjust and learning how to lean in a sense, when it comes to uncertainty, is the desire to want to be in the will of God. So I'm speaking to us as believers, as Christians. One of the things that I think keeps us in a place of wrestling and struggling and uncertainty is the desire to want to be in the will of God. Hear me clearly on this. I'm not saying that you should not want to desire to be in the will of God. What I am saying is that we get so stuck on, I want to make sure that I'm in the will of God, that we don't even realize we're not even doing anything. We're not in his will because we're not even doing anything. And what I'm referring to in this is that a lot of times people get so caught up in the decisions they should make. Should I take this job? Should I go to this school? Should I move to this state? Should I be here? Should I do this? Should I do that? And we feel as though one option is God's will and the other option is not God's will. And I will say, I do believe that there are times where it is very clear, like an A or B type of situation. But I truly believe that when your heart is in the right place, when you truly have a desire to live for God, when you're being intentional about pursuing him wholeheartedly, when you, even the fact that you question, is this God's will for my life? It shows your heart. It shows what your desire is when it comes to having a relationship with him, being rooted in him, having him as your foundation. I truly believe when that is your heart's posture, that God is not going to allow you to be out of alignment, at least not for a long period of time, that it would put you in a place of detriment. And it's so important for us to be able to receive that, because a lot of us are wrestling with, God, if I do this, am I going to be in your will? And we feel like we have this space of uncertainty, right? That we don't know how to navigate through that. And so as a result of it, we don't do anything. We allow ourselves just to become stagnant, and we stay in a place that God is trying to move you out of. I think it's important for us to be able to understand and hear my heart on this, because I don't want this to be taken out of context and I don't want this to be taken in the wrong way. But I think for some of us, we have this mindset that, okay, if I'm supposed to go to, let's use college for an example. If I'm supposed to go to the University of Virginia, that's God's will for my life. But I feel like I misheard him, or I choose to go to James Madison University. That's where I went. That's my alma mater. So by me going to James Madison University instead of the University of Virginia, the person that I meet at JMU to be my husband, I've now married the wrong person. As a result of that, I'm now going to have the wrong kids. As a result of that, my kids are now going to have the wrong kids. So now I got the wrong grandkids. And so now I have this trajectory of just wrongness because I didn't choose University of Virginia. I don't believe that God places that weight on us. I believe we place that weight on ourselves. And so as a result of that, we end up being in a position where we get so caught up on, I don't want to make the wrong decision, that we allow ourselves to remain in a place of uncertainty, not realizing that God will use you when your heart is in the right place, when you truly have a desire to live for him, to honor him with your life, all of those things. God will use you wherever you are. And I'm not saying that to be an excuse or a reason to just go out here and do whatever you want to. No, I'm not saying that. That's why I keep emphasizing when your heart is in the right place, when your heart's desire, your heart's posture is to honor God, he will honor where you go. And I think that that's so important and necessary for us to realize, especially when we're in a space of dealing with uncertainty, because we feel like we're going to miss God. And God's like, I'm going to be with you wherever you go. And we can put ourselves in a position where instead of actually being in his will, instead of actually pursuing and doing the things that he wants us to, and to put us in a position to be able to be a light in the places that he desires to use us, we just stay in a place that is either familiar to us, or we stay in a place of confusion even as we're trying to navigate through this space of uncertainty, when I don't want to say it's not that deep, but it's not that deep. And so I do want to encourage you to obviously seek God, seek him in prayer, seek him through scripture, seek him in worship, seek him through wise counsel. Absolutely do those things. I truly do believe that he will direct our paths. And I truly do believe that when we have a desire to honor him, that he will use us wherever we go. And we overcomplicate things, and we can remain in a season of uncertainty unnecessarily. Like, what are we doing that for? All right, so moving on to this next layer, because I told y'all it is layers when it comes to this thing of uncertainty. So in thinking about the uncertainty of God, what is my purpose? What is it that I'm called to do? What is it that you want me to do? So some people are in that space, and I feel like I've addressed that in the episode on finding your purpose in an influencer-driven world, so I don't want to focus as much on that. I want to focus more on when you're in a space where you feel as though, okay, God, I have an idea of what it is that I'm called to do, what my purpose is, but I'm very unsure of what that looks like. There's an uncertainty of who is it that I'm supposed to be speaking to? What exactly is it that I'm supposed to be doing? What does that look like? Has anybody ever been in that space of just kind of like, okay, God, I know you've called me to something, but also what are we doing? Like, what's going on here? Because I'm very lost. Like, I'm really unsure and unclear and uncertain about what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. So I want to share something that, let's see, we've become a family here, right? This is our space where we share, where we have our heart to hearts, where we tell the truth that we have not spoken yet. And I was not going to share this. However, this is a part of my journey, and so I want to share it with you all because more of it will be coming. So with that being said, for this to come full circle, I was going to say full closure, full circle. So one of the things that I have been doing, I talked about very early on in the year, that one of the things that I was hardcore going to pursue was investing in myself. And so over the last couple of months, I have very much so been investing in different things that I felt like would help me to go in the direction that I feel like God is leading me in. And so with that being said, give y'all the short version of it, I am working on becoming a coach. And so I'm going to leave it at that because I know that's vague, but more information, more details will be coming over the next couple of months. But I'm working on doing something that will help me to be able to serve women like you all who listen to the podcast, just to really pursue your dreams and to go after the things that God has called you to. And so I'm really excited about that. And the reason why I bring that up is because one of the things in the program that I'm in, one of the things that the person said is who hosts the program, he said, go ahead and share who it is. So Michael Pittman, if you're not familiar with him, and Amanda Pittman, they are amazing. They do great work and they have a program for entrepreneurs. So just an FYI, you can check them out. But one of the things that he said in one of our courses was when God has given you the command to do something, by default, he's already given you the capacity. Can we break that thing down? I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. When God has given you the command to do something, by default, he's already given you the capacity. And that really resonated with me because I feel like a part of this uncertainty that we have when we are pursuing the things of God, when we are walking in purpose, is God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Who is going to listen? Who is this for? Who's going to be this? Who's going to be that? We have all of these who, what, when, where, why, how questions. And we forget that if God has given you the vision to fulfill it, he has also given you the capacity to do it as well. And a lot of times I think the uncertainty comes from, well, I don't have the resources. I don't have this. I don't have that. We focus on what we lack and we fail to realize what is in our hands. We fail to realize what is in our mind. We fail to realize what has already been provided to us. And so we stay in this space of uncertainty because we're focusing on what we don't have instead of recognizing what God has already provided. And that is so important and so necessary to navigate this season of uncertainty, because some of the things that you feel like you are uncertain of in this very moment, God has already created the capacity for it. He's already created the resources for it. He's already created everything that you need to be able to fulfill the calling on your life and to fulfill the things that he has spoken over you. But you're focused on what you feel as though you lack, that you can't even see the areas that you are sufficient in. You can't even see the areas that you have already been provided with. And so I think that is very important for us to be able to recognize that when we have a vision for something, when it's a God-given vision, let me clarify. When God has given you a vision for something, he will also supply the capacity. He will also supply the resources. He will supply the things that you need in order for you to be able to see it through. And so as we're focusing on this idea of uncertainty, as we're thinking about being uncertain of how is this going to come together? How is this going to work out? Who am I? Let's talk about that, because uncertainty is not always about the resources. Sometimes uncertainty is about who you are. And we can allow ourselves to get so far in our head and think about imposter syndrome. We can get so far into our head and we'll say, who am I to talk to people? Who am I to encourage people? If people knew my story, if they knew my testimony, they wouldn't want to listen to me. They wouldn't feel like I was qualified to say this. And so sometimes the uncertainty is in yourself. But there's a part of me that I like that. And let me explain. The reason why I say I like it is because it positions you to allow God to do the work. It positions you to allow God to show up on your behalf. And it also positions you to be able to see, one, it ain't about you, and also to be able to see that God uses you in spite of you, and how he positions you to be able to do the things through him, not in your own strength, not through yourself. And that's important for us to be reminded of as well. And so as we're going through this space, this season of uncertainty, I know it can be overwhelming. I know it can cause anxiety. I know it can be just frustrating even at times, because like, God, I just want to know. I just want to know where to go next. I just want to know what it is that I'm supposed to do. I just want to know where it is that I'm supposed to be. I just want you to give me like the full floor plan. Let me know what I need to do so I can just be obedient. But being in a space of uncertainty is not always a bad thing. it positions you to be able to seek God in a deeper level. It positions you to be able to say, okay, let me step back. Let me go back to the last instruction. I love that so much. I'm really big about that. I remember listening to a sermon years ago by Stephanie Gretzinger, and one of the things she said, whenever I'm in a place where I feel like God is not speaking, I always go back to the last thing that he said. Whenever I'm in a space where I feel like I don't have instruction or I don't have the next steps, I always go back to the last thing that he said. And when we're in that space of uncertainty, when we don't know what to do, when we don't know where to go from here, go back to the last instruction. Because one of the things she said is, I always say, let me go back to the last thing that God said. And I ask, are we done here? Sometimes we can be in a space of uncertainty because we ain't done here, okay? I know that's not the best grammar, but sometimes the reason why you are in a space of uncertainty is because you're not done with the last instruction. You're not done with the last thing that God told you to do. And so he's positioning you to complete the race. He's positioning you to finish the last thing that he told you, so that when you go on to the next step, you don't just have clarity, but you're also in a position where you're able to have the lessons learned from the last thing. And so sometimes we want to rush that season of uncertainty when God's like, I have you here for a reason. I need you to go back and finish the last thing that I told you, so that when you go forward, you have everything that you need. You're equipped with everything that you need to be able to go forward and to do the things that I need for you to do. Another thing when it comes to navigating uncertainty is to be mindful of the different things that are overwhelming you or that are causing you to feel uncertain. I spoke about earlier, when you are in a space of navigating uncertainty, is being in a place of confusion at times. And so the reason why I bring this up is because I'm someone, I do a lot of research, I do a whole lot of looking up. And when I was on this whole kick of, all right, I'm going to invest in myself, y'all, I was signing up for everything. I do not recommend that, okay? And the reason why I do not recommend it is because you get information overload. And here's the catcher. Everybody's not saying the same thing. So what ends up happening is, I'm uncertain of what to do because you have too many voices. You have too many people telling you, oh, you should do it like this. You should do it like that. You should do it like this. You should do it like that. And that is confusing. And so keep in mind that when you're dealing with uncertainty, I'm not telling you not to do research, not to look up things that you need to, but be mindful of how your options are overwhelming you. Be mindful of how the things that you are seeking out, ooh, that's a word in itself. Be mindful of how the things that you are seeking out is causing more uncertainty because you are focused on listening to, you have too many voices that you are listening to. You have to quiet the noise. If you are in a space of uncertainty, the greatest way to eliminate the distraction of uncertainty is to start eliminating the outside voices, because you can have people with good intentions, but they're giving you information and it's in conflict. And even as believers, if we want to take it a step further, if you feel like you're in a space of uncertainty when it comes to things spiritually, you have to ask yourself, all right, what voices am I listening to? What voices have come in and stifled the voice of God? What voices have come in and shifted me from the voice of God because I have all of these different things that I'm listening to? It's important for you to be able to be informed, to have the information, absolutely, but it can become overwhelming at the same time. So if you feel like you're uncertain of whether I should do this, whether or not I should do that, take a step back. Because what I had to do was, it's like, all right, I've signed up for these master classes, I've signed up for these programs, all of these different things, and I feel overwhelmed because I don't know what I'm supposed to do, because I'm trying to do too much first and foremost, and then I have all of these different things that are telling me to do different things. I'm at a place now, I learned that the hard way starting off, but I'm at a place now where I have a solid program that is what I'm focusing on, and that information is what I'm using to go forward. And so I share that because when you are dealing with uncertainty, especially when it comes to something that you're building, that you're working on, that you're navigating, that you're figuring out, sometimes it can be a matter of your options as a whole are overwhelming you, and that is leading to uncertainty because you have too many voices. You have too many different things that are being said that are actually in conflict with one another. And so it's really important for you to be able to silence the noise, to remove the distractions, eliminate the multiple voices, because it's not something that's going to be beneficial to you. It's only going to be something that is going to keep you more in a place of uncertainty and keep you in a place where you are questioning, what is it that you're supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to go from here? What am I supposed to do next? That's confusion, y'all. And we ain't got to be confused about our purpose, our choices, all of those different things. It shouldn't be a thing of confusion. It should be a thing of peace. That is what I always follow. If I am at a place where I feel uncertain about something, I feel unsure about it, I'm going to follow peace. At the end of the day, where do I have peace? Because that's where I want to be. I want to be where the peace resides, okay? I want to be where the peace resides, not where confusion lies, because that's not where I reside. That's not where I live at, and I don't want you to live there either. And so I just want to encourage you that as you are in a space of dealing with uncertainty, you're not really sure if you should be doing this, if you should be focused on this, if you should be focused on that. Don't allow yourself to get so anxious or overwhelmed and stuck in the place of uncertainty that it just leaves you stagnant, or that it leaves you in a place where you are confused, because that's not what we want, okay? We want to make sure that we have clarity. We want to make sure that we are allowing ourselves to be positioned to hear from God, to allow Him to lead our path, to direct our paths. And in doing that, it does require you to eliminate the distractions, to remove the noise. If you got to fast, if you need to isolate yourself for some time, clear the stage, honey. Do what you need to do, but don't allow yourself to become so overwhelmed that instead of you taking any kind of action, you just stay stuck. We ain't doing stuck in 2021, okay? Just so we're clear. That's what we're not doing, not in 2021 nor beyond. I want you all to have clarity, and I want you all to really be able to fully walk in the things that God has for you, and I want you all to not allow yourself to get stuck in this space of uncertainty, because I feel like a lot of times we get stuck there. It's not a place for you to get stuck. It's a place for you to navigate. That's why this is called navigating uncertainty, because it's not for you to get stuck there. It's for you to adapt. It's for you to pivot. It's for you to adjust. It's for you to navigate through this path. It's not something for you to get stuck. This is not a dead end. This is a springboard to where it is that God is taking you to next. So don't allow yourself to get stuck in the space of uncertainty, because this is not where it ends, okay? So we have to allow ourselves to be able to walk through that. Don't get frustrated. Don't get in your feelings about it, but really just allow yourself to be able to navigate through all of the nuances when it comes to navigating uncertainty. All right. I hope you all enjoyed this. And just a reminder, I said it earlier, but just a reminder, please make sure you share it with a girlfriend. Also make sure that you leave a review. And in the description box, there is the questions, the option for you to leave a question for next week's episode, listeners' questions. You can submit as many questions as you want to. I'll try and get through majority. I will try and get through at least all of them that you send. I don't think I'll get like an influx of them, but I definitely will try to answer all of them. So make sure that you drop that in. It will be anonymous, so you don't have to put your name or anything. You can put your question. You can put as many questions as you want to. I'm excited to answer your questions. And in next week's episode, I'm going to be sharing something super special that I've been working on for a long time that I'm really, really excited about. And I'll also be leaving the survey for season 2. So you can let me know, give me your feedback. Let me know how you enjoyed season 2. Let me know what you didn't enjoy about it. And until next time, be whole, be healed, and be authentic. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into a Change of Heart podcast. I hope you were encouraged, and please take a moment to share with a girlfriend, and don't forget to download the episode. Lastly, I would love to connect with you. You can follow me on Instagram at Angel C. Walston and at A Change of Heart podcast. Have an amazing week, and don't forget, be whole, be healed, and be authentic.